Okay, so video, at least when it comes to programmatic, maybe it's not the newest kid on the block, but it's certainly the newer one. Display has for a while been the undisputed king of digital. But now we are seeing this rise in video inventory. So how is this changing the market?
Well, I'm going to say that video in programmatic is still pretty much a new kid on the block. You know, display has been around for a long time in programmatic. And when I was prepping to come here, I realized that even our words have changed when we talk about programmatic. 3 years ago, when it was all display, we used words like RTB, real-time bidding and efficiency and exchange. And now we're talking in a completely different language. We're talking programmatic and private marketplace. And video really plays to that because programmatic has gotten the attention of the largest brands on the globe. And they want to use that not just for DR, for driving sales lower funnel, but they want to use it for branding. And when you're talking a branding message, you really are talking pre-roll video. And so the strategy in figuring out how to make programmatic work for premium pre-roll video is something that's still really emerging.
Right, and that's interesting that you're saying, using programmatic for different objectives. Is that at all going to change the way that certain formats are used? Like, there's been a lot of talk in, actually just today, about attribution models getting better and better. As we're better able to attribute, a conversion to something like a display ad or to a video, are we going to see display ads being used more for upper funnel objectives, things like videos being used for lower funnel objectives?
I don't think across the board for sure. One of the big differences in programmatic between display and video is available supply, right? So for display, there is more supply than there is demand. And so that's why it tends to be more effective lower funnel. In video, and I'm talking about quality premium publishers, there is more demand than there is supply.
Right.
So I think as that changes, marketers will use video more for lower funnel and have attribution. But I don't think that's across the board. The only sector in the industry or vertical that I could see that really working would maybe be auto. But I find that most of our pre-roll video or video, and I work with marketers and advertising agencies, they want to develop that asset, that sight, sound, and motion, more for branding and more for upper funnel.
Okay. Why auto specifically?
Auto's all about in-market auto shopper, right? And auto's very much into using their data in a programmatic format or in a non-programmatic format to find that person who's ready to buy a car. Right. And so I think auto throws any asset they have, video, display, native, to get that person in the dealership and get a car out the door.
Right, and you did start to talk a little bit about scarcity. So obviously, when it comes to premium pre-roll, maybe you could find pre-roll in general, but when it comes to premium pre-roll,
That's my philosophy.
Right, there isn't the largest inventory available. So what can marketers sort of do to make sure that they're getting their piece of the pie there, to make sure they're getting everything they need?
That's a great question. So, like I said, I call them marketers and advertising agencies every single day for large brands. And I've seen some very interesting strategies emerging. So supply for pre-roll, quality pre-roll is scarce. And so across the board, publishers and networks are going to fill their guaranteed deals first. Now, not every marketer wants to come into a guaranteed deal because they're doing programmatic because they want to be able to pass back an impression. So what we're finding is that our really savvy marketers and really savvy agencies are getting out in front of it and doing planning almost for a year how they want to handle their pre-roll video. So right now we're in Q2 and we're finding that a lot of our brands, at Tremor we offer all types of private marketplace and automated guaranteed, unreserved fixed, developing an invitation only, and we also have open auction. And what I'm finding for the large brands is they're buying in that unreserved fixed fashion right now for their clients, for their own brands, and the agencies are buying on behalf of their clients. But they have an eye toward the end of the year in Q4 when this is going to become very constrained. And so they're using their data, they're using their analytics to define which publishers are really performing in an unreserved fixed fashion, and then they plan to do guaranteed buys in Q4 and then lock up all that pre-roll video market.
And when it comes to performance, there's obviously viewability, which is another huge topic at this conference and in the industry as a whole. So does this mean something different for video? Obviously, then, other than the obvious that the ad should be viewable, should be in view.
Well, I think it's even more important for video because, you know, video, the CPMs are much higher, right? Developing that asset is much more expensive, and you need people to view it. That's why you created it. And, you know, there's all types of viewability standards. I can't wait to hear some of the other speakers later today. But you know, the IAB has standards. Individual agencies, Group M came out with their own viewability standards that you need to meet. And so it's of course critical. And in programmatic, it's very difficult, obviously, as we know, because you're buying that impression before it's delivered. What surprises me is that so many of my clients use their viewability measures, let's say MOAT or IAS, after the campaign has run to see how they did as far as viewability. And a lot of, you know, they can do pre-bid viewability prediction. And I'm finding that a lot of marketers aren't doing that yet, and I find that really surprising.
So display sort of has its pretty clear demons when it comes to ad fraud. Are these shared by video, or are there specific ones that video is facing exclusively?
I don't think there's fraud is fraud, right? And it's the demon of the industry.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything specific in video, but you know, I think that there are ways that you can guard against it, and that is obviously, you know, buying a larger player size. You know, if in pre-roll video you buy a 400 plus player size, you're less likely to have fraud than if you're buying an open auction, right? And not that open auction isn't terrific for many marketers, but I can tell you that most of my big brands do very little in that particular type of buying model. Mm-hmm. They might do a cookie match and buy, but they have fraud protection in place. So I'd say a good way to get around that in video is to stick with the private marketplace, stick with a large player size, and well-known publishers that are defined just for you.
Yeah, and speaking of the way that marketers are buying, whether it's from a cost perspective or whether it's because they want to maybe keep a closer eye, I guess, on all these ad fraud threats, a lot of brands are bringing their services in-house. Is that something that you're wary of? Is that a good thing? Is there a time and a place for it?
I'm not wary of it at all. I'm fascinated by it, actually. I think this is a big trend that's really starting, and we're going to see more of over the next, let's say, year to 18 months. It kind of reminds me, I've been around for a while, I know a lot of you, and I came out of the network space. About, I don't know, 7 years ago, trading desks started cropping up, and they were like, hey, thanks, networks. We'll take it from here, right? We have all the control, transparency, we're going to start doing our buying. And I'm seeing that exact same thing happening all of a sudden with brands to their trading desks. Like, thanks, trading desks, we'll take it from here. We're going to have our own in-house team, and what they like about it is because, number one, it's all about their first-party data, and they feel like, hey, we can keep this inside, and it's very secret to us. All their business intelligence, the speed with which they can get their campaigns up internally. But it's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds. I looked at the marketer challenge board yesterday, and at the top, there had to be at least 4 or 5 post-its that said resources, and I was like, bingo. Because how are you as a marketer? I mean, our trading desk partners have trouble finding quality resources, and then how really is an in-house marketer going to put together a team that can really get it done for them? So I think this will evolve over time, but I think that's the biggest challenge. So I don't think there's going to be a seismic shift in-house. We'll still be working with our trading desk partners going forward.
Right. So of the trends that we've mentioned here, I guess they're going to vary in difficulty in the ways that marketers and other players are going to deal with them. Which would you say is sort of going to be the most challenging in the future for a marketer to deal with, like including viewability, ad fraud? Yeah.
I think it's going to be viewability. Because we have scarcity of supply for premium pre-roll. I think that's going to be alleviated a bit once there's more mobile inventory available, because there's going to be a lot more pre-roll video available on mobile than there is right now on desktop. But viewability will always be key. Video is upper funnel. It's about engagement. It's about moving the brand with your message and making sure it's viewable. How do you make sure it's viewable when you're buying before it's delivered? That needs to be solved.
Right. All right, I think that's all the time that we have.
Wow.
So thank you very much.